Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bedomy and this is Gears 5, a sequel to Gears of War 4 and the 6th entry into the Gears of War franchise. It is the second game developed by the Coalition, who took over the reins from Epic Games after they left Microsoft for other business ventures. And for what it's worth, it's a very competently made third-person cover-based shooter. But it's not a good story, to be honest. I enjoyed the gameplay immensely. It really shows the best characteristics of Gears of War. But the story that's supposed to demonstrate why certain things happen and justify why are we fighting someone it's rather ridiculous, and I have to admit this was probably just to get some brownie points from the certain political groups, which will not be named on this series. Well, I would call this a series, it's more of a review program, but anyway, back on topic. We'll discuss the story and the gameplay as it comes in, but first let's take a look at the options menu and discuss some of the rather dim-witted things that Microsoft did for this once legendary franchise. I mean, seriously, this was an Xbox seller, to be honest. Well, that and Halo. Gears of War and Halo were really the only two games that actually pushed Xbox out there into the general public's eye. Okay, that didn't sound good, but I hope you get what I mean. These were console sellers, basically, and the way Microsoft is treating the series right now is rather stupid. I will tell you what I mean by that eventually, but first let's take a look at the options menu first and foremost. So as you can see, the Coalition really went all out when they ported this to the PC. And honestly, this actually shows that they had the PC in mind when they were creating the game. I mean, just look at this. The controller has a fairly decent options menu where you can adjust aim, sensitivity, even the control layout. You have a general control layout and a more specific control layout where you can redefine which button presets do you want, which stick presets do you want, and which trigger presets do you wish to use. So, for example, if I'm left-handed, I can switch it up to left-handed mode or right-handed mode. And there's also the legacy mode, but I never played Gears of War on a console. I'm a PC player, and this is my first Gears of War, so I will not be using a controller on this one. But if you have one, all the power to you. I hope you're having fun. And to be fair, it really doesn't matter which control method you prefer to use. If the gameplay is good and responsive, that's the only thing I'm usually after. Everything else is usually window dressing, but there are some things I really prefer to have active or deactivated when I can. So, for example, I usually don't like to view my death cam or kill cam in this case, where I can see who killed me from which. Well, actually, it's pretty handy if you want to prove that someone's cheating, but to be fair, this game's multiplayer is more or less dead, so you really don't have to bother. You will encounter cheaters at one point or another. You can turn off aim assist on or off. You can adjust the heads-up display and health indicators. You can turn them on or off, but the amount of variations to those displays is what I really like about this game. Well, about this game option menu. As for the video quality, this is where I really have to tip off my hat if I had any. Well, actually I do, but anyway, I tip off my hat to you, Coalition. This is a video settings menu done right. I mean, just look at this. General settings, texture settings, detail settings, shadow settings, environment, post-processing, advanced. Everything has its own specific section you can adjust, well, I won't say to a microscopic level, but you can adjust the minimum frame rate in both cutscenes and in the gameplay. You can adjust resolution, display mode, number of monitors, field of view, the texture quality. Personally, I would recommend that you go for the highest possible, well, that your graphics card will allow you, because this game really utilizes Unreal Engine to the maximum. And same goes for everything, well, for everything, any small detail in the game. Excuse me, I think I'm having another earthquake. Okay, it's not an earthquake. Anyway, as I was saying, no matter what happens, go for the highest possible visual settings when you're playing this. This game is single-player focused first and foremost, so multiplayer was just an afterthought. You're just robbing yourself of a very, very beautiful visual spectacle. Well, it's not just a visual spectacle, it's also an audio spectacle you can enjoy. Excuse me. So if possible, go for the maximum or highest possible settings on both video and audio. And speaking of audio, as you can see, beautiful. This is just beautiful. Every volume has a separate slider, and you can adjust the volume for everything. You can turn subtitles on or off. Adjust if you want to use in-game voice chat. I honestly wouldn't recommend it. I usually work with Discord or TeamSpeak, so use those since there are alternatives to it. And finally, you can adjust the mouse sensitivity and settings in a separate section from the key bindings. And as you can see, every action has a separate input, which is just beautiful. I believe I said it a couple of times already, but it's really worth repeating. Don't bind multiple actions to a single key. It's just going to cause problems later down the line. And this shows just how much thought and effort went into creation of this game. Every action has a separate button. I can put in a combination of buttons to do a specific action. I can also use a single button for multiple actions. So if I screw up something, it's my own fault. It's not the game's mechanics working against me. For matchmaking, basically you will have to use an Xbox account or a Microsoft account in this case to actually play multiplayer, but as I already said, the game's multiplayer is more or less dead. I mean, seriously, I'm from Europe, and it took me 10 minutes to find a match, and only when I stopped searching in Europe and went to the, well, US in general. And as you can see, the ping is less than stellar, to be honest. So if you have a couple of friends that want to play this game, I would recommend that you buy it on sale and just play co-op missions, or maybe do a custom 2v2 or 4v4 if you're dead up for it. Mature content can be enabled or disabled, as you can already see, but I assume that most of us playing this game are emotionally and mentally mature enough to understand what gore and profanity is a part of the game and part of the game's charm. And we are mature enough not to overuse them in real life, or search for them in real life if the case is the gore. I have a feeling I'm talking to a bunch of... well, to be honest, there's only 10 people who will ever see this, so... please do not engage in murder, maiming, or other forms of gory activities. That's really not cool. I do not promote this. I condone violence on this channel. And personally, okay, then... if there's a bunch of horrible people doing bad things, yeah, I would recommend that you beat them to a pulp, but... Okay, I'm not helping my case there. Let's move on. Accessibility lets you adjust colorblind mode, story camera shake, which will shake the camera when you run or take a melee hit. You can enable subtitles here as well, adjust their size, turn the vibration on or off if you're using a controller, but since I'm using a mouse and keyboard, I won't be needing these. Text to speech, well, if you want to be funny, go for it, but otherwise keep it off. And control remapping will let you readjust the control settings for your controller. And that's about it for the options menu. But here's the thing about Gears of War that really ticks me off personally. As you can see, the game has a dedicated store, which indicates that this is a live service game, whose support died relatively, well, I won't say relatively quickly. They are still releasing downloadable content for it, such as skins, new storylines such as Hive Buster, which was released last year, I think. I'm not sure. I know that Gears of War was released on the PC relatively recently, so this might have been a DLC that came out a couple of years ago when Gears of War Gears 5 was still an active game. But anyway, as you can see, you can purchase character skins and well, I'm not sure if this is an emoji or one of those what's it called, emblem. Yeah, I think that's your personal emblem for when you kill someone. Esports will basically let you purchase some other cosmetics for your weapons, banners, characters for real money, or you could just purchase in-game currency and then spend it on approximately 2 character skins, which is rather stupid. If I want to spend extra money on this game, I would just buy the Hive Buster mission or something else. Well, basically DLC that includes story content and other skins for the multiplayer. But yes, as you can see, I'm not really happy about this. If the game allowed me to unlock characters by just playing the game's story, I wouldn't mind it so much. But yeah, asking me, I mean, you can unlock most of these characters by just playing the multiplayer, but I would prefer it if the game allowed me to unlock them by simply playing the single player. And speaking of multiplayer, you have co-op missions, which are called Horde Mode and Escape, where you and 3 other players take on a challenge of defending a machine from an oncoming horde of enemies, or place a detonator into a swarm's nest, place a bomb in it, and try to escape from the unexplored area of the map. Well, unexplored area, basically. You have to fight through hordes of monsters and get out of the area before you're dead. Actually, I won't demonstrate it because it will take who knows how long before I find anyone to play with. But yes, as you can see, you have 3 versions of multiplayer: Versus, which is 4v4 player versus player combat; Horde, where 4 players just fight off oncoming monsters; and Escape, where 3 players try to escape an area. And that's about it. As I said, the main focus of Gears of War series was always the single player. So for now, let's take a look at the boot camp. If you're planning on playing this, I won't spoil the story for you. I might give you quick glimpse into a, let's see, into a section of the game that shows other gameplay aspects, but let's show you the basics of the game by playing the boot camp. And honestly, I really like this this tutorial mission. It's stylized as a small story where you play as one of the side characters, and it actually explains, well, justifies why you're doing the training exercise, basically.
Lieutenant Delmont Walker, reporting for duty. Yo, Baird, how long is it gonna stay dark in here?
Wait, dark? Where are you?
Where you told me to go.
Oh dear, miscommunication. Dave, uncloak. Alright, can you at least see Dave?
Yes, Baird, I can see Dave. And we can also see how beautifully lit everything in this game world is. Not only that, but look at the character models and the environment we're in. It's all very nicely detailed, lit, and the voice acting and the music are a joy to hear. A joy to listen, honestly. And I apologize, I think there's another earthquake going on right now, so... okay, it's not. No, Jesus!
What the hell, man?
Hey, we had to get light in that box somehow, didn't we? Hang on, we'll set you down.
So, as you can see, this was the game in the dark, and this is the game lit up.
I want to upgrade our security bots for combat against the swarm. Everything you do, the sensors on your armor will record.
Man, you think your bot's gonna be able to compile my moves?
Yeah, I do.
Beautiful. I'm almost speechless. Oh, Jesus.
Nice landing, Baird.
Thanks. Okay, we need to calibrate those sensors, so just follow Dave.
So, as you can see, the particle effects of
Now keep up with them.
the dust flying up and the smoke going up really sells you in on the idea that you're in a very what's the word for it? Organized. I'm sorry, I'm just. Yeah, we had a couple of earthquakes already in the past couple of months, so
Data's looking good.
you can probably guess how that a lot of people are nervous when something starts trembling.
All right, Lieutenant. After every task, I'll update your TACCOM.
Anyway, as you can see, this is Gears of War. Or gameplay-wise, you control a character and move around in from the third-person perspective. You can use 4 different weapons.
What part of check your TACCOM didn't you understand?
Okay, my apologies.
I see Dave.
Wonderful. I love it. Anyway, now hit the keypad.
So basically, you consider this as an interactive. I won't say a movie, but it is a very theatrical game, to be honest. You have to follow a certain script that the developers constructed for the story. As you can see, I cannot just run around the area willy-nilly. I am confined into a small area where I have to do a specific action in order to progress.
To the next piece of cover, please.
So as you can see, this is Gears of War's core mechanic.
Alright, now swap to the adjacent piece of cover.
Where you have to utilize chest-high walls in order to protect yourself from oncoming fire and kill off enemies. Hopefully we will encounter one really soon.
Using the cover, break Dave's line of sight so they can learn how to move like a real gear.
So yeah.
Alright, I'm down.
Dave, bring up your targeting laser.
So as you can see.
Oh, you can't find me.
So as you can see, the game's main.
You missed me.
The game's main mechanics are utilizing cover to your advantage and staying out of enemies' line of fire.
You know what? This is kind of fun.
And soon we will probably encounter some hostiles. If Dave were to start using the bloody thing. Thank you. As you can see, I won't say that the AI is relatively stupid, but they do not... They don't do some actions immediately when you expect them to do it.
So, how you feeling, kid?
Okay, sweet.
You know, limber enough.
Iris, activate the sprinting trench.
I mean, you saw that that Dave was basically wasting time while I was just running around.
Running at full speed while keeping your head down does not come naturally to a bot. So let's show him how it's done. Race Dave to the other end, kid.
3, 2,
Iris,
1.
Countdown, please.
3, 2, 1, go.
Good. Now race Dave back to the start. Iris?
Yeah, sorry.
3, 2, 1.
I know this is rather childish, but it provides some level of fun when you're just
Too slow, Dave.
when you're just looking at an old
Data's clean.
tutorial you cleared before and you're just having fun with it.
Chris, it'll have your distinctive gait.
Lucky them.
Okay, what else was I gonna say?
Iris, ready for the shooting module.
Oh, yeah, there we go, shooting. The core mechanic of the game itself, where shooting is. Well, you would think that since the game has the word war in it.
The COG's most trusted and versatile firearm.
Man, how could you not trust something with a chainsaw bayonet?
That's true.
Alright, kid, incoming Guardians. Take down their shields and destroy them.
So, as you can see, we have,
Aim down your sight. DBs love to hip fire. We need to change that.
as you can see, this is the second core mechanic of Gears of War. The active reload mechanic, where when you start reloading your weapon, you enter a minigame where you have to time your reloads correctly. If you reload correctly enough, you will have a very advanced, well, not advanced but powerful, a very powerful weapon that can damage your enemies without too much hassle.
Put that in your thing.
And if you mess it up, you will not empower your weapon at all. Or if you screw up the whole reload, you will jam your weapon, and this will take longer for the reload to be finished. And as you already saw, this is the second part of the combat, where you can blind fire at your opponents.
Oh, perfect. That's gotta be solid data there.
As you already saw, this is...
But let's up the challenge.
There's a difference between a good reload and a bad one. So as you can see, correctly utilizing cover and reloading mechanics will keep you alive in the game for a long period. You usually, well, you're always limited to 4 weapons.
You want DBs tossing frags around?
Have you met the swarm?
So as I was saying, you're limited to 4 weapons, which is 1 primary assault rifle, secondary rifle, a pistol, and a grenade. You can also take a heavy weapon if you come across it.
Iris, bring in some volunteers
And
for Lieutenant Walker to blow up.
Yes, dear.
and if you're
Damon. Yes, Damon.
You didn't hear that.
okay, that's
Now,
weird.
Barrett, how does blowing up DBs help train them?
So as you can see, this game had some
I was gonna strip them for parts anyway.
it had some origins in horror, so
Head down and blind toss a grenade.
just running around and shooting wasn't a possibility. You had to aim precisely in order to see the crosshair, and then fire at your opponents. As you can see, if I just move and just throw a grenade, I won't see where it will land. But if I use precision, if I press the aim button, I will see the crosshair which will indicate where the grenade itself will land. And that's the basic premise of the game. It's run around corridors or, well, not just corridors, but the pre-made map spaces, and kill anything that's trying to kill you.
Ready for a live fire exercise?
So there's also
Markets
a
like tomatoes?
An emphatic yes. Grab some fresh ammo and frags, then get back into cover.
and there's also a bit of a melee in the game, but your main focus is
No
always
problem.
Aim for the head, they'll go down quicker.
Quick is good. Start.
And try mixing things up between firepower and explosives. Don't use the same thing.
yeah. He says that, but if you're using your cover and weapons correctly, you can actually kill everything in mere seconds. And knowing which weapon to use at every location and situation is usually the key of surviving. Every weapon has a different reload animation and a different fire rate and ammunition type. Not to mention different ammo capacity.
All right, I'll admit it. This is way better than brunch.
So let's see if... actually, I used a grenade, so let's go with a pistol on this one. So as you can see, a pistol is not as fast as a Lancer rifle, but it's very precise,
Data looks good.
single-shot weapon.
Ready to move on?
Sure.
And there's also a cinematic view of the situation you're
Iris,
in.
the patient.
He is joining us now.
So for now, let's see what the game will offer us in terms of mechanics.
What's wrong with him? Looks fine to me.
Dave?
What a pleasant day we're having.
Oh boy. So once you get down, then you or other characters get down in a fight, you can come closer to them and revive them. And don't try to avoid.
Word of warning. This next one's gonna sting a bit.
What are you talking about?
Dave?
Don't you dare, Dave. So as you can see, this is
help him up.
the other part of the game.
Training protocol.
When you're downed, you're actually in a state of fight for your life situation where you have to press spacebar or a different input button for as quickly as possible in order to stay alive.
Citizen, it appears you need
And occasionally, most AI companions will not help you, even though they're close to you.
Do me a favor and scrap that custodial unit for me. Just use your Lancer's chainsaw.
Really?
But there's also a plus side to this. Well, you cannot kill teammates, but a chainsaw on an assault rifle is very, very cool when you're actually getting up close and personal to your enemies.
Kid, don't worry, I'll make sure he gets recycled. Head over to Dave when you're ready to
And
leave.
yeah, I apologize for stuttering and everything, but the house is shaking a bit, so I'm kind of nervous at the moment. Well, not as nervous, but if I don't want to end this video right because of that. Anyway, as I was saying, the AI occasionally can be pretty stupid, and
That's the spirit.
and the second part I hate about this game in general is the amount of dialogue you get every 5 seconds.
Grab a Nasher shotgun off the rack.
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
already know I'm gonna like this.
Okay, so for a second, this is one of
Clear out those shepherds. Need as much close quarters data as I can get.
okay, this is one of the better weapons of the game. The Lancer rifle is epic, but the Nasher shotgun is one of the staples of the game.
Nasher's made for close range combat, kid.
One of the staples of the Gears of War franchise and shooters in general. You get up close and personal, and boom! A fine bloody paste of enemies in front of you. It's just beautiful, I have to say.
Hey, you like that? I know I do.
And if you know how to time wall jumping and well, not crawling, but roadie running and sliding in front of your enemies, you can do this.
Done.
Good work.
Ta-da!
Oh, and Iris, we're gonna need cleanup in Module 7.
I mean, this is really fun, honestly. This is what Gears of War excels at. A fun combat system which is always
Yeah.
always
Just follow Dave.
always challenging, but never too taxing on the player. If you die, it's your own fault most of the time. Unless it's a scripted boss fight where you're either limited on movement space and resources, but
First up, use your combat knife to take out.
Actually, that's not true. It's
That seems a little
also your
unfair, but
it's also your own
okay.
fault if you're not careful. Okay, melee.
Lieutenant Delmont Walker.
While it's down, let's grab some finishing moves.
Ta-da! And yes, this is just
Impressive.
primordial fun. Honestly, it's almost like you're playing Doom, but from a third-person perspective.
Let's do it.
And this was
Cover behind the next shepherd.
and this was before
Now give it a yank.
and this was before Doom 2016 became a thing. This was honestly in almost every Gears of War games I saw on YouTube.
Hey, with learning comes sacrifice.
Anyway, this is
Mantle into the next area.
Gears of War's main mechanics.
Same drill. Get into cover opposite the shepherd. Line it up, mantle up, and insert knife.
Ta-da! Oh, I know I should say something smart here, but
Okay, now let's teach him to counter. Get into cover.
this is just fun.
For you. Counter him.
Come here, you.
Excellent. Now put him down.
But this is just way too much fun,
This is like
honestly.
mechanical slaughter, man.
Oh, really? Well, what do you say we grab some data from a fair fight?
Okay, now we're talking.
Come on, man. This is me we're talking about. You don't have enough robots to make this a fair fight.
Oh yeah? We'll see. Gear up and we'll get
Anyway, I apologize. I'm having too much fun, honestly. As you can see, the game is you're not limited to a single weapon, a single set of weapons. You have multiple weapons such as assault rifles, grenades, shotguns, sniper rifles, missile launchers, and grenade launchers. And while the game is heavily scripted, I don't mind it so much because, one, the levels themselves are fairly opened up, so you can actually explore the area you're in before you actually continue the story of the game. And
Iris, initiate combat simulation.
and I'll be screwed if I'm not
Combat
careful on this one.
Simulation 12 will provide a gear as skilled as Lieutenant Walker with minimal challenge.
So
Iris, I knew I loved you.
don't just because you think this is a tutorial, don't think you cannot get killed in this one.
For like a week or two.
Wait, hospital what now?
Oh, you'll see. Just get to Dave and we'll get started.
Okay, I'm rushing this a bit, but as you can see, the story won't progress unless you're in a specific area at a specific time. Well, the game will try to hurry you up towards the desired area by placing a friendly character into the general proximity of the desired path and let him face that specific area.
Say hi to your teammates, kid.
Hi, teammates.
Greetings, Lieutenant.
Anyways,
Bring in their opponents. The incoming enemy units won't be holding back, so get me data I can work with.
so
Let's go, fellas. Team down all the way.
as you can see, this is primarily it's supposed to be a team. Well, story-wise, it's supposed to be a story about a squad of soldiers as they fight off impossible odds of enemies and other monstrosities they don't want to deal with. But the AI of the game was never really the game's strongest suit. As you can see, you're doing most of the work on your own. Your teammates are nowhere to be seen, and you're basically killing everything yourself. So let's see if I can finish this quickly. One grenade up, one injured droid, out for the count. And excuse me, but I love this shotgun. Okay, where is that enemy? There it is. Don't think that this is a run and gun game. If you're not careful, you'll get shot to death very, very quickly. You have to utilize cover.
Because I got more to teach.
Nice work. Once these upgrades are in, the swarm's in for it.
But those are the basics of the game, as you can probably see.
I hope you got what you needed. I'm gonna go eat.
I will begin analyzing the data.
So yes, this is the
Iris,
basic
what would I do
gameplay
without
of
you?
Gears of War.
Shudder to think
Utilize
of it.
cover and the weapon mechanics to your advantage in order to win and survive the oncoming swarms of the swarm. I really want to call them locusts because that's what they are, but new name, but they have a different name, so that's kind of annoying. And while we're on the topic of the game, while we're still on the topic of the game, I would like to discuss one thing that I really don't like about Gears of War 5. As you can see, the game will create a lobby. Basically, the game is asking you to stay online no matter if you want to play solo or if you want to play solo or multiplayer, you still have to be online. And the second problem I have with this game is, even though you're given the choice of choosing a character, this is only reserved for when you're playing with friends on co-op missions. So if you're playing this solo, you're bound to a single character, and that's possibly the character you're not going to enjoy at some point, or want to avoid using for some reason. And honestly, I would love to play this game from multiple perspectives. So if Gears of War 6 comes out, I really hope that they implement this change in the sequel. The story can remain the same, but at the very least, let me play as different characters and see their perspectives on the events that have occurred. And also implement a 4-player co-op, not the ridiculous two people can play as human characters and one of them controls a droid. This is just ridiculous. Basically, the whole story follows Kate Diaz, the new protagonist that we know. I won't say nothing about. We did learn a bit about her in the 4th game, but she really isn't a character that you can actually relate to, or at least I don't find her enjoyable or relatable. Hell, I find Del more entertaining. I even found JD more entertaining as a protagonist than Kate. And while we're on the subject of, I don't want to drag too much focus on the story, but it has to be said. The game's main problem is the weak story of it's the weak story of the game itself. Because one, you're more or less just forced to go through situations that occurred whether you did something or not. Your characters just react to the situations, and nobody tries to do something that will actually cause the situation to happen. They just happen to be in a place where something occurs, and then they react to it and fight off monsters as they show up. That's honestly not something I find enjoyable. Anyway, apart from that, I would say that this is a pretty good game for those of you who never played a Gears of War game in your life. It's a good stepping stone. It will show you what the game has to offer you, but it will not tell you a decent story. For that, you will have to actually look for the original trilogy, in my honest opinion. You'll either buy an old Xbox console and the original trilogy, or you will just find an emulator and play Gears of War there. But honestly, I am kind of glad that Gears 5 and Gears 4 were the first games that were actually placed on the PC, so that we can see how much love and attention Microsoft has put into that franchise. That made them into a very successful game publishing company they are today. and also help sell their consoles. So I'm glad to see that a lot of love and attention has been put into making this game a pleasurable experience for everyone who wants to play it. But now that the 5th game has hit the store shelves and PC, I really wish that the Marcus Phoenix story gets the same treatment as this game. It is the original Gears of War trilogy is very emotional, and well, it's not very. Give me a sec. Let me try to find my words. It is an emotional story, but it's also an action story. Gears of War was a story about war, survival, courage, and sacrifice of people that put their lives on the line to protect humanity. Well, to be honest, this is not happening on Earth. This is a planet called Sarah, but people are human. These are still humans, so. Well, technically, most of these humans are I won't say grotesque mutations that have very chiseled chins and everything, and high number of muscles, but I love the Gears of War. I love the Gears of War trilogy because it really showed you. Well, I won't say horrors of war, but it was nicely paced. It had great story work. Well, not only story work, but camera work, characters, and gameplay that backed it up. This game has rather forgettable characters. Situations happen just because things happen and people are nearby to react to them.
But how am I any different?
And I honestly don't want to spoil too much of the story, but as you already saw, this game also introduces an open world mechanic to the Gears of War franchise. Since this is the first chapter where we actually see the open world, this is a bit more on rails section, but once you pass this door, you get a very, well, I won't say a big map, but you have a decently sized map you can explore at your own pace and discover some side missions, which will help you upgrade your character. Well, not your character, but the jackbot that you're, well, not protecting, but going with.
Out there.
As you can see, I have two abilities already
Doesn't look far.
enabled to be activated, and one of them is a protective shield around my character. The second one is a mine, as a deployable mine, and we can change those abilities as they cool down or in the middle of a fight. And as we explore this open world area around us, we will find weapons, ammunition, and other upgrades that can be utilized for the jackpot. And finally, here's a heavy weapon I have mentioned already. As you saw already, we already have 4 weapons, but this is a heavy weapon, and it has a limited ammunition, but it can be used if you're utilizing cover correctly. You can utilize it to devastate the enemy forces rather quickly with it. And also, as you can see, its ammunition is limited, but you don't have to reload it. You can cool the weapon off in order to continue firing it. And you can interact with the world around you by utilizing jack or buttons you come across. And honestly, I think that about covers everything about this game. It's a beautiful game to look at. It has solid mechanics that really entertain the player. That really entertain anyone who plays it. But the story, if interested in the story, I'd recommend that you either find the emulation or an old copy of the Gears of War trilogy and play it. And play those games instead of this one. Or if you want, just wait for it to come on sale and purchase it then.
Well, explains a lot, actually.
It's a fairly forgettable story, but it's carried by well-designed and polished mechanics that really showcase the best parts of the Gears of War franchise. And the open world edition and RPG mechanics, while they are not novel by any standard, they have been implemented in other shooters as well. They do add up a lot to the game's charm, honestly. I mean, exploration of the world around you is exploring the world of Sarah as it is now is really a wonder and joy, but I wouldn't recommend
Still check it out.
I wouldn't recommend doing so with an. Okay, let's not be. I'm not gonna be racist here, but okay, it's not a racist thing. It's just that the banter between these two is rather wooden. I think it's not a banter between friends, or in most cases, it's just a boring conversation that really doesn't add much to the story or the character development. It is nice to hear characters banter occasionally, but these guys just keep talking to each other just for the sake of breaking the silence. As you can see, these guys will continue talking every 5 seconds. So let's see if I can actually... Where's it? Oh yeah. Here's the map of the open world section. It's not a big one, but as you explore, you will find some minor side missions where you can discover upgrades or get better weapons. But once you run out of ammunition, you will jump back to your old assault rifle and shotgun. But with upgrades, you can actually improve Jack's abilities, such as better mine traps, better passive abilities such as Jack's stealth capabilities, carry heavy weapons ability. Well, this will allow him to actually carry heavy weapons to you when you need them, and you can also upgrade your traps to be extremely deadly when in a pinch. So, would I recommend this game to other? Would I recommend this game? Yes. It is a good showcase of everything good that the franchise has to offer, but it's also one of the weakest games in the franchise. So, if you want to purchase it, I would recommend that you purchase it on a sale. And if you're interested in buying the DLC Highbuster mission, I think I recommend that you buy it in a package with the game if possible. The gameplay really carries this game, and I sincerely hope that Microsoft will see that people still want the Gears of War franchise ported to the PC. This is a good step. This is a good stepping stone for the franchise. And since I know there's an enemy here, I will just demonstrate by using the scanner and then placing a shock trap. So let's see if we can annoy it a bit before it starts attacking. Yep. Oh, wait. Okay. Now it's time to run away. Okay, as you can see, this is a mini-boss of sorts. And if we're smart about our usage of the area around us, we can actually kill them off with our environmental stalactites or stalagmites, I'm not sure. But if you if you pay attention to where you're actually fighting in, you can neutralize the environment to actually destroy your position with relative ease. So let's see if I time this correctly. I can injure this guy. Nope. No dice. But I can neutralize cover properly and get rid of him before he shows up. Before he closes the distance. Come on. Come on. Where's that bloody the rocket launcher? Finally. So let's see. I did use I do have a heavy machine gun here. So let's utilize it. Oh boy. No. Wait, where's my... Oof. Come on. Okay, that didn't do much. Okay, nope. I need this. And I'm out of here. So as you can see, I can utilize combat rolls and simple running mechanics to get out of the way of incoming attacks and damage my opponents from a safe distance. Oh my god, this is scary, Okay, come on, die already. Ow. Okay, shotgunning this bastard to the face. Yes. Ow. Nope. No. Okay. Pushing in the wrong direction. How the hell did that pass through? Come on. Drop. Drop dead, you ugly coyote. And there we go. When you encounter mini-bosses, you will get a very nicely done musical score and
Holy shit.
And a very soiled underwear and chair.
Maybe not such a good idea.
But anyway, this is Gears of War at its finest. It's a scary third-person shooter with very fun shooting mechanics. Well, it lost the horror aspect long ago, but it can still scare you a bit with the environmental storytelling, the atmosphere, the music, and challenging boss fights. And as I said, I really recommend that you buy this game and play it. Show Microsoft that there is an interest for the Gears of War franchise. And hopefully in the future we will actually see a Gears of War trilogy remastered and ported to the PC properly. And as for this game, the story is terrible, but the gameplay really holds up the Aging's franchise in a very high and dear place in my heart. And that's everything I actually have to say. The only other thing I actually mind about this game is the fact that this is a Microsoft product, so you will have to make a Microsoft account and you will be forced to play this online even though you're playing this solo. But otherwise, yes. And if there's a sale and you see the game, I really recommend that you buy it. Treat yourself with a fun gameplay, and a forgettable story. But if you have friends that want to play Escape or Horde mode, and maybe even try out the co-op story mission or two, it's a good place to actually pass the time with friends, basically. And with that, I think I will end this video for today. Thank you very much for watching. My name has been Bedomy, and good night.